This video didn't just appear in your feed. Its existence in your reality is the physical proof that you just performed an act of quantum collapse. You forced the universe to choose a timeline where you see this, and in doing so, your old one is gone. This is physics, not a feeling. In the next 45 minutes, I'll show you the experiments that prove it and how this single moment has changed everything. For a century, quantum physics has held an earth-shattering secret, one that has been discussed in laboratories but rarely understood in its devastating personal power. It's a principle called the observer effect, and it is the most fundamental law of reality creation. The bedrock experiment that revealed this is known as the double-slit experiment. When scientists fired particles of matter like electrons at a screen with two slits, they expected to see two distinct lines on the wall behind it, like shooting pellets through a fence. But that's not what happened. Instead, the particles created an interference pattern, acting like waves that passed through both slits at once. They existed in a state of pure potential, a cloud of possibilities. But then came the moment that changed science forever, the moment that changes you, right now. The scientists placed a detector by the slits to see which one the particle actually went through. The moment they decided to observe, to measure, to look, the particle stopped acting like a wave. It picked a single slit, behaved like a solid piece of matter, and created a simple two-line pattern. The act of observation collapsed the wave of potential into a single concrete reality. Let that sink in. Reality itself remains a wave of pure, undefined potential until an observer looks at it. Your attention is that observer. Your focus is the force that commands the universe to choose. Until you look, everything you could possibly want and everything you fear exists simultaneously in a silent fog of probability. The moment you place your focused attention on one outcome, the fog instantly solidifies into your experienced reality. You have been doing this your entire life, unconsciously. Have you ever felt like you're living the same day over and over no matter what you do? That feeling of being stuck in a loop. The same financial problems, the same relationship patterns, the same internal monologue of doubt or frustration. You try affirmations, you try to change your habits, you put in the work, but you keep waking up in a slightly different version of the same reality. You feel an exhaustion so deep it settles in your bones. This is not a personal failure. It is not a flaw in your character or a lack of willpower. You have simply been living in an unobserved timeline, a reality running on autopilot, defaulting to its last known set of instructions. Without a conscious observer providing a new command, the system simply reboots the previous day's operating system. That loop you feel trapped in is the physical evidence of an unconscious observation. If this scientific, evidence-based approach to timeline jumping resonates with you, hit the like button now. It signals to the algorithm that this knowledge needs to reach more people ready to collapse their old reality. So how does the observer effect actually work to keep you trapped? And more importantly, how did you just break it? Let me break it down with the central metaphor for our work today. I call it the quantum trigger. Imagine your entire future, all of its infinite possibilities, as a vast, silent, swirling fog in front of you. Every potential joy, every success, every relationship, every version of you is in there, undefined, a ghost of pure energy. Your consciousness, your focused attention, is a finger resting on a trigger. When you are not consciously choosing where to aim, that trigger fires randomly, on autopilot. And where does it aim by default? It aims at the most familiar, most practiced, most neurologically wired energy signature it knows. It aims at your past, so it fires. And the fog of potential instantly collapses into a reality that looks and feels almost identical to yesterday. That is the loop. The random, unconscious firing of the quantum trigger, recreating the past over and over again. But a moment ago, something different happened. You saw the title of this video. You felt a resonance, a curiosity, a flicker of something beyond your current loop. In that moment, you aimed your attention with intention. You consciously chose to investigate a new possibility. When you clicked play, you deliberately, consciously pulled that trigger. You fired, and in that instant, you demanded that the entire quantum field of your potential realities collapse into one single specific timeline, the one where you are here, right now, learning that you are the one in control. The act of watching this, is the evidence. The old reality, the one where you scrolled past, where you stayed in the loop, where you remained unconscious of your power, is no longer accessible. It became an unchosen probability that dissolved back into the fog. You are here now. That other timeline is gone forever. By the end of this video, you won't just understand this concept as an intellectual idea. You will feel the absolute certainty of this shift in your very being. You will recognize the evidence that your old timeline has already dissolved, and you will hold the precise power to consciously, deliberately aim and pull that trigger, to choose the next one, and the next one, and the next. To truly understand the physics of what just happened to you, we must go to the heart of reality's greatest mystery, the experiment that shattered our understanding of the universe, the double-slit experiment. For over a century, scientists have performed this test, and every single time, it reveals the same impossible world-altering truth. Imagine a wall with two vertical slits in it. On one side, a machine that fires tiny particles like electrons, one by one. On the other side, a screen that detects where they land. Simple. If you fire these particles through the slits, you'd expect to see two distinct lines on the screen behind them, like firing paintballs through two gaps in a fence. But that is not what happens. When no one is looking, when no measuring device is in place. To track the electron's path, the particle ceases to be a particle at all. It becomes a wave of pure potential. It passes through both slits simultaneously. It interferes with itself. It lands on the screen not as two lines, but as a complex interference pattern. A signature that proves it was a wave of infinite possibility. It was everywhere, and nowhere at once. A fog of potential. But then comes the moment that changes everything. The moment the observer appears. The scientists, baffled, place a detector by the slits. A simple electronic eye designed to do one thing, to see which of the two slits the electron actually goes through. The machine fires again. The detector watches. And in that single, silent act of observation, the universe changes its mind. The interference pattern vanishes. The electron, as if suddenly caught, as if it knows it is being watched, stops being a wave. It picks a path. It becomes a single, solid particle. It goes through one slit, or the other, and it leaves behind two simple, predictable lines on the screen. It collapses from a field of infinite potential into one singular reality. This is not a theory. This is not a philosophy. This is the bedrock law of our cosmos, proven thousands of times. Reality remains a suspended cloud of what could be until a consciousness looks at it. The act of looking, the act of observing, is the force that commands the universe to choose. Your attention is the most powerful, creative force in existence because it is the very thing that turns the fog of potential into the fact of experience. This mechanism, this divine interaction between your focus and the quantum field, is what I call the reality collapse trigger. Your consciousness is the trigger mechanism. The vast, shimmering field of infinite timelines and potentials is the fog. And the moment you place your focused awareness on one possibility, you pull the trigger. The fog instantly solidifies into the bullet of your experienced reality. The reason you have felt so stuck, so trapped in those repetitive loops, is because you never knew you were holding the trigger. And an unpulled trigger has a default state. The universe, without a new command from a conscious observer, will simply continue to collapse the reality it last collapsed. It runs the old program. It defaults to the familiar patterns, the same emotional reactions, the same limiting circumstances. It recreates your past because it hasn't been given a new focal point for the future. Your life wasn't a prison. It was just a rerun. This is why so many of the old methods fail. This is why affirmations, visualizations, and acting as if can feel like screaming into the void. They are powerful tools, but they are often used incorrectly. You've been trying to redecorate a house that has already been built. You've been trying to change the color of the walls inside a timeline that has already been collapsed into form by your past observation. You are operating from within the old frequency, trying to alter its effects, instead of collapsing an entirely new frequency into existence. It is the difference between rearranging furniture on the Titanic and simply choosing to be on a different ship altogether. The true paradigm shift is this: you don't change reality. You choose one, The work is not about effort or struggle against what is. It's about the elegant, precise, and total withdrawal of your observation from the reality you do not want, and placing it firmly without doubt on the reality you do. You starve the old timeline of its life force, and its life force is your attention. This is quantum collapse explained simple. Reality waits for your command. Without a new command, it just repeats the last one it was given. Your frustration was simply the feeling of your soul knowing it held a powerful trigger, but being told to keep repainting the target you had already hit. By finding this video, you finally consciously pulled that trigger in a new direction. So I ask you to look back just for a moment. Where in your life have you been trying to change the scenery of your reality instead of pulling the trigger on a completely new one? For your entire life, you have operated under one fundamental, unquestioned assumption. An assumption so deep, so ingrained in our language, our science, and our societies, that to even question, it sounds like madness. That assumption is this: we believe our consciousness is something inside our heads that perceives an external, objective reality, a world that exists out there, separate from us, and our brain is just a complex receiver interpreting its signals. This is the great illusion. The revelation of the observer effect is not simply that our attention changes things. The revelation is that there is nothing but our attention. Your consciousness is not a camera recording a movie. Your consciousness is the projector. It is the light, the lens, and the film, all at once. And what you have called reality is merely the screen on which its images are cast. You are not just holding the quantum trigger. You are the finger on the trigger. Your consciousness is not a tool you use to collapse reality. Its inherent nature, its very existence, is the force that collapses reality into form, moment by moment by moment. This is the paradigm shift from which there is no return, and it changes everything. Because if your consciousness is the projector, it means you are not in a timeline. A timeline is in you. It is a story you are projecting, a frequency you are holding, a pattern of light you are emitting. This realization dissolves the very walls of the prison you felt trapped inside, because it reveals the prison was just a shadow you were casting. This means your past does not create your present. Stop and feel the weight of that sentence. Your present observation creates your past. When you observe your current reality from a state of lack, of frustration, of feeling stuck, you are commanding the universe to organize a history for you that perfectly explains and justifies your current feeling. You are retroactively collapsing a past that makes your present inevitable. This is why the loop feels so real, so unbreakable. You are holding the frequency of the lock, and the universe is dutifully providing the memory of the cage. And most profoundly, this means you do not need to escape your current reality. You only need to stop energizing it with your attention. The feeling of struggle, of pushing against a resistant world, is the ultimate illusion. It's like trying to fight your own shadow on the wall. The fight itself is what gives it energy, what keeps it animated. The moment you turn away from the shadow and face the light, the shadow ceases to have any power. It doesn't need to be defeated. It only needs to be deselected. The work then is not about effort. It is not about force or struggle or grinding it out. It is about the subtle, powerful, and precise redirection of your focus. It's an act of choosing, not an act of creating from scratch. The potentials for every reality imaginable already exist as waves in the quantum field. Freedom exists. Abundance exists. Profound peace exists. You do not have to build them. You only have to turn the projector of your consciousness toward them. You simply choose which film to play. The struggle is over. The era of force is over. This is the era of the observer. The era of elegant, precise choice. This is the moment you stop being a character in the story and realize you are the author. You are not a passenger in reality. You are the observer at the very center of the quantum field, the silent, still point, around which all possibilities revolve, waiting for the signal of your attention. The universe is not happening to you. It is responding through you. What if your unwanted reality isn't a prison holding you captive, but a memory you keep reanimating with your attention? The collapse of your old timeline isn't just a future promise. It has already happened, And the evidence isn't in new things magically appearing around you. Not yet. The evidence is found in the past. It's in how you now see the old patterns you just broke free from. We are about to become quantum archaeologists looking back at the fossils of your old timeline, not as failures, but as definitive proof of a reality you are no longer observing. The first most immediate piece of evidence is a profound sense of emotional disidentification. Think about one of your old recurring triggers. That specific comment that always made your stomach clench. That familiar fear that used to paralyze you. That feeling of inadequacy that would wash over you in certain situations. Bring it to mind right now. But don't try to feel it. Just observe it. You will notice something strange. You can remember being that person. You can intellectually recall the pain, the anger, the anxiety, but you can no longer generate the raw, visceral feeling itself. It's like watching a scene from a movie starring an actor who looks just like you. You can appreciate the performance. You can understand the character's motivation, but you are fundamentally separate from it. You are the audience, no longer the actor. This emotional distance is not a coping mechanism. It is physical proof that you have shifted out of that timeline's resonant frequency. The frequency that made that pain feel real and personal is no longer your broadcast channel. You are no longer tuned in. That old self is an echo, a fossil. The second sign, which is even more unsettling and powerful, is the appearance of logic gaps. Look back at the choices you made in that old timeline, the job you stayed in for too long, the relationship you tolerated, the limitations you accepted as absolute truth. When you examine them now, from this new point of observation, they no longer make logical sense. You might find yourself asking, why did I stay? Why did I believe that was all I was worth? Why did I fight so hard for something that gave me so little? You will try to retrace the mental steps to understand the logic of that person, and you will fail. It will feel like trying to run an old piece of software on a new operating system. It is incompatible. The reason you can't understand the logic is because the logic of that timeline no longer belongs to you. It was a coherent system of thought for the person in that collapsed reality. But you are not that person. You have collapsed a new reality with a new internal logic, and from this vantage point, the old world looks fundamentally irrational. That logic is no longer yours. The third and final piece of evidence is what I call the memory smudge. This is the universe actively demanifesting a reality that has lost its observer. Think of a specific, painful memory from your old timeline, a memory that used to be crystal clear, sharp-edged, and emotionally charged. One you could replay in perfect high-definition detail. Now try to access it again. You may notice it's hazy. The details are starting to blur, as if the memory is a photograph left out in the sun. The emotional charge, the sting, has been neutralized. It's becoming harder to recall with the same painful clarity. This isn't just your brain healing or time passing. This is the physics of demanifestation. A reality that is not being energized by your conscious observation loses its structural integrity. It dissolves back into the quantum field of pure potential. The universe is not a perfect record keeper. It is an efficient energy manager, and it will not waste energy sustaining the architecture of a timeline. For an observer who has already left the building, these three signs, the emotional distance, the logic gaps, and the memory smudge, are not your imagination. They are not wishful thinking. They are the artifacts. They are the physical footprints of a timeline that has been abandoned. They are the data points proving that the act of observing this new information has irrevocably shifted you into a new state of being. You are looking at the ruins of your former prison, not from within its walls, but from a place of freedom you haven't yet fully registered. Thinking of one specific negative pattern, can you already feel that sense of emotional distance, as if looking at it from behind a pane of glass? Comment, with the one repetitive pattern, you now realize you just broke free from forever. Let's create a record of all the timelines collapsed today. I read every single comment. You understand the physics. You see the evidence in the architecture of your own memory. Now we move beyond the intellectual. We move from knowing to being. It is time to embody the frequency of the new timeline you have already collapsed into existence. Find a comfortable position. If it is safe for you to do so, I invite you to close your eyes. If not, simply soften your gaze and turn your attention inward. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, release the need to understand. Release the need to analyze. Just for these next few moments, your only task is to feel. Bring your awareness to the space behind you. Imagine, just behind you, the faint signal of your old timeline. Don't see it. Don't relive it. Just sense it. It's like a distant radio station, filled with static. The signal is weak, gray, and repetitive. You can just barely make out the old songs of worry, the familiar static of frustration, the looping broadcast of limitation. Feel its energetic signature. It's dense, it's heavy, it's familiar, but notice how far away it is now. It is no longer the music filling the room of your reality. It is a faint, fading echo from a place you used to be. It has no power. It has no pull. It is simply a memory of a frequency. Now, with a conscious intention, I want you to turn your back on it completely. Feel yourself turning away from that static, leaving it behind you where it belongs. You don't need to push it away or fight it. You simply withdraw your attention. You let it fade into absolute silence. It is gone. Now, bring your awareness to the space in front of you. Before you is the quantum field, the infinite potential. Feel it. It is not empty. It is full. It is a silent, vibrant, humming void, pregnant with all possibility. There is no past here. There is no future. There is only a field of pure, uncollapsed energy. It is peaceful. It is powerful. It is waiting for a command. It is waiting for an observation. It is waiting for you. Feel the texture of this infinite potential. It feels like pure stillness, but alive with energy. It is the raw material of worlds, the substance of reality itself before it has been told what to be. Breathe it in. This is your true nature. This is your true home. Now, from this place of infinite potential, I want you to choose one feeling. Just one. Not a scene, not a person, not an object. Just a pure, raw feeling that will be the foundational frequency of your new reality. Perhaps the word is freedom. Perhaps it is peace, or abundance, or clarity, or love. Don't overthink it. The first one that comes to you is the right one. Take that word. Take that feeling. And now, we are going to generate it from within. This is not about imagining what it would feel like to have freedom. This is about becoming the frequency of freedom itself. Locate that feeling in your body. Does it start in your chest? Your solar plexus? Find its seed. And now, breathe into it. With every inhale, feel that seed of feeling growing stronger, warmer, brighter. With every exhale, feel it expanding, filling every cell of your body. Your only job right now is to become the vibrational equivalent of that word. If your word is peace, feel the stillness spreading through your limbs, quieting your mind, soothing your nervous system until every atom of your being is vibrating with the silent hum of perfect peace. If your word is abundance, feel the sensation of absolute fullness, of having more than enough, of an endless supply of energy, creativity, and well-being radiating from your core, overflowing into the space around you. Let this feeling become so total, so all-consuming, that there is no room for anything else. This feeling is no longer something you are experiencing. It is what you are. You are not feeling freedom. You are freedom, observing a reality that can only be free. You are not feeling love. You are love, observing a reality that can only be loving. This state of being, this frequency you are now embodying. This is the trigger. This is the conscious observation that collapses the quantum field into a reality that is a perfect mirror of what you have become. Hold it. Be it. Know that it is done. The new timeline has been anchored not in your mind, but in your very cells. This is your new default state, your new home frequency. And now, very gently, bring your awareness back to your physical body. Feel the chair or floor beneath you. Hear the sounds in the room around you. When you are ready, you can slowly open your eyes. Look around. Everything may look the same, but you are not. You are observing this reality from an entirely new point of origin. You have just anchored your new state of being. What is the single word for the feeling that is the foundation of your new timeline? You are now an active observer. You have collapsed your old timeline. From this moment forward, you operate as a quantum architect. Here is your new protocol. This isn't about adding more tasks to your day, more affirmations, more struggle. It is about changing the very physics of your interaction with reality. So this is how to use the observer effect for reality creation, not as a complex task, but as a simple state of being. These are not techniques you must remember to perform. They are descriptions of your new, natural state of operation. The first is the 0-point gaze. Throughout your day, you will be met with echoes from the old timeline. Ghosts, a critical email, a sudden bill you weren't expecting, a person's tone of voice that used to trigger you. These are quantum pings from a reality that no longer has an observer, testing to see if you will re-energize it. The old you would have reacted. You would have felt the spike of anger, the drop in your stomach, the rush of anxiety. You would have observed the problem and, in doing so, collapsed it into a stronger version of itself. No more. Now you use the 0-point gaze. When the trigger appears, you look at it, you see it, but you hold your attention on it from a state of complete neutrality. You do not judge it. You do not fear it. You do not try to fix it or push it away. You simply stare at it without giving it any of your emotional energy. You become a void, a black hole for that old frequency. You observe it as you would observe a character in a movie you have no opinion about, and you will feel something miraculous happen. The emotional charge that the trigger used to carry will fizzle out. It has nothing to hook into. By withdrawing the fuel of your observation, the echo cannot sustain its form. It dissolves back into the field of pure potential. You will literally watch your old problems dematerialize in front of you because you have starved them of the only thing that ever gave them life: your focused, emotional attention. The second protocol is the forward collapse. This is your new 5-minute morning practice. The old you woke up and immediately began observing the old reality. You checked your phone. You worried about your day. You reanimated the problems of yesterday. You were collapsing the past into your future, moment by moment. The quantum architect begins differently. Before you do anything else, you sit for 5 minutes. You do not visualize what you want. That is the old way, trying to project a movie onto a screen that already exists. Instead, you decide on the emotional state you will embody for the day. You connect with that single core feeling you identified earlier: freedom, peace, abundance, certainty. You generate it in your body. You become it. Then, from within that feeling state, you allow your awareness to gently scan the day ahead. You don't plan the details. You don't force outcomes. You simply look at your coming day through the lens of your new frequency. You are pre-paving your reality. You are collapsing a version of your workday, your interactions, your commute that is a quantum match to the state you are embodying. Events will rearrange themselves. Difficult conversations will become easy. Opportunities will appear from nowhere. The universe is not responding to your thoughts about the day. It is responding to the observational frequency you are holding as you look at the day. You are collapsing a future that matches your being. The third and most powerful protocol is called starving the ghost. This is how you handle the people, places, and habits that seem to be fixtures of your old timeline. A ghost is any part of your reality that is programmed to expect the old you. It's the family member who only knows how to see you as small. It's the job that only recognizes your limitations. It's the addictive habit that requires you to feel powerless. They exist as echoes, sustained by your predictable reaction to them. Your new protocol is not to fight them. It is not to leave them or confront them in a dramatic fashion. It is to starve them. You do this with polite indifference. When you interact with a ghost, you are present, you are calm, but you give them zero observational energy. You do not argue. You do not justify. You do not defend yourself. You do not get drawn into the old emotional patterns. You become a smooth surface, a mirror reflecting nothing. You starve them of the reaction they need to survive in your reality. This is the most profound magic you will ever witness. A person who has always criticized you will suddenly have nothing to say. A dynamic that has been toxic for years will simply lose its energy. A habit will lose its appeal. By starving them of the observation they require, they must do one of two things. They will either transform to meet your new frequency, or they will painlessly and often mysteriously drift out of your life. They must fade away. This is the new framework. This is not about doing, it is about being. Your only job is to maintain the feeling state of the new timeline. That is your sole responsibility. The universe, by the absolute and unbreakable laws of quantum physics, will orchestrate the collapse of all necessary details. It will move people, create synchronicities, and dissolve obstacles to build a reality that perfectly mirrors your state of being. You hold the note. The universe builds the cathedral around your song. What is the very first ghost from your old timeline? You will consciously starve of your observation starting today. You now have the fundamental key to reality creation. You have performed the reality collapse. You are operating from a new baseline of existence. The rules that governed your past are no longer in effect, because the reality that created them has been dissolved. You did not escape a prison. You simply stopped projecting its walls. This power, this mechanism, is now yours to command. You have moved from being a character in a story to the consciousness observing it into being. But collapsing one timeline is just the first step. What if your new timeline is not an isolated island? What if it is quantumly entangled with the timelines of others? What if your personal collapse, the one you just initiated, could trigger a collective one? This is the next horizon. Mastering the observer effect makes you a powerful creator. This is undeniable. But understanding quantum entanglement makes you an architect of interconnected realities. It takes you from a state of personal sovereignty to a state of cosmic influence. When your observation power, the one you now wield with precision, meets the principle of entanglement, miracles cease to be random events you hope for. They become physical phenomena you can engineer. You've learned how to pull the trigger. Now you will learn how to design the entire field of potential targets, not just for yourself, but for the collective. In the next video, we will explore this exact science. It's called Quantum Entanglement Explained, how your new timeline connects to everything. We will dismantle the illusion of separation and show you the physics that prove how your internal state is inextricably linked to the world you perceive. Then we will go even deeper with why the feeling is the secret is deeper than you think, the quantum proof, revealing how emotion is not just a signal, but the very fabric of entanglement itself. Your old timeline is gone. This is day one in your new reality. Observe it consciously. Observe it beautifully. Observe it with power. Now that you can collapse any timeline at will, what if you could connect your chosen reality to the highest potential of everyone and everything around you? Subscribe and turn on all notifications. In our next video, Quantum Entanglement Explained, how your new timeline connects to everything, we explore the science of interconnected creation. You have mastered the I. Now it is time to master the we.